Okay, so on the fourth hardest difficulty, how hard was Horizon Dawn?
Well, I mean, it was a difficult game, but I mean, it also teaches you, like, this is a game where you actually have to learn how to take down different things. You can't just sit there and, like, auto attack things or just shoot until they die, or you're going to be there forever, right?
Right.
So I don't necessarily, right, and I guess I'd have to play it on an easier mode to know and kind of compare, but I mean, I felt like it was easy, but I also felt like the game taught me how to play it. Like, I had to learn how to deal with every single enemy that I went up against. So really so long as you didn't get hit, I felt like you weren't in too much danger.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you don't get hit, huh?
Yeah, just don't get hit.
Well, in Hearthstone, when I make sure I don't get hit by the enemy, then yeah, I usually win pretty easily too.
Okay.
As long as you don't go down to 0 life, really. That's just kind of the thing. Like, it's really easy if you don't go down to 0 life.
It's even easier if you don't get hit at all.
So, Final Encounter Cast pro tip, don't get hit.
Yeah, don't die.
Don't die.
Step 1, don't die. Step 2, don't get hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you make a really good point because, like, think about the term that floats around when you think of what old school games are like. Nintendo hard. That is a phrase that has meaning to it. Like, and that just shows, like, we as a society we've recognized that games have really fallen off in difficulty since then.
I mean, not to mention thinking about a bunch of the different terms that you hear in regards to, like, people who are doing, like, permadeath runs or survival modes, right? It's like people have to go out of their way to really find a challenge. There was that amazing Fallout 4 story about the guy who was doing, like, the Fallout 4 survival run on the beta settings, which were, like, super, super gruesome. Beat it in one go without dying or anything, while having this glitch where one of his companions, who are immortal, was following him around trying to kill him.
And it, like, jeez. But even beyond that, you see people who are like, well, what if I try to beat this game using a Guitar Hero as my controller?
What? If you're not playing with a DDR pad, then I don't know why you're even playing.
Little side note here, there's apparently a guy who everything in his house is automated to his ocarina, so he controls everything in his house with songs on his ocarina.
What?
So, like, I need to turn the lights on. Play the Sun song.
So that would have been a pretty cool news story to put on the outline. Where was it?
I thought it was on the outline.
You play the Song of Storms to flush your toilet?
Take a shower. Yeah. Hilarious. But this is what begs the question, okay? If there are so many people who are into, like the Dark Souls, there are some people that are looking for, like, these hard settings and looking for these challenges, how did we get to this point? Like, what caused developers to be like, you know what? Let's make super easy games. How about we get rid of the concept of these extra lives and you just have infinite lives? You die, you just respawn. You
just go back to your spawn point,
what is the point even in some games now of having save points when you die, you just immediately basically spawn back to where you were anyways?
Yeah, I think part of it was, for a time, developers, as games became more expensive and higher budget and took more time and effort to make, there was maybe an aspect of them saying, like, I want people to play my game start to finish. I don't want to risk losing them at some point because they're frustrated, which I think is completely the wrong mindset to have, but I don't think it would surprise me if that was part of the mindset. Especially if you're a more artistic personality who's crafted a story that you really are proud of, you might be afraid to lose a player, halfway through, or you lose your audience. But at the same time, like, we had a solution to that back in the day. They were called cheat codes.
Game Genie.
Genie.
Pay to win.
If you were bad at the game and you still wanted to finish it, you put in the cheat code. You got your 30 extra lives from the Konami code. You queued up a GTA 3 and loaded up on infinite weapons. Like,
just warp to the last stage in Mega Man using the password system.
All right, that was lame.
But
whoa, that's lame. Using a password is lame, but using cheat codes is fine.
No, I don't think it's fine.
The word cheat is inherently in the title of the term. Cheat codes.
You don't even get to see what the levels look like at that point.
Okay, so what's worse then? Having to cheat to get past something? Or, I mean, okay, yeah, we criticize games for being easier now, but most of them put in different difficulties. So if you want a cinematic mode, you have cinematic mode. Or if you want a challenge, you choose very hard. So, I mean, really, have we fallen that far? They're just giving people a choice. Do you want the challenge, or do you want to be able to just play through the game and, see the story?
I guess there is an aspect, like even like some of my favorite games like BioShock, it had 3 different difficulties. And like going back to like a game like Halo, maybe here's the question. I remember playing Halo and like all that you got on the different difficulties was you got a different like last scene. Like the last scene was like right before like the final ending of the story, there was a little like bonus clip that you got.
Okay, so
it changed on each difficulty. So there was a reason, like if you want to see what that last clip was, you could play through each one. But I like legendary difficulty was crazy hard. But I wanted to know what that last scene was.
Okay, see,
Why
that's
didn't you
interesting
do it?
because I feel like
exist.
most you're right, because most games they don't give you, I feel like, extra content for doing extra difficulties. You'll get an achievement, right? You have the achievement for just beating the game, beating it on hard, beating it on
I hate
insanity.
achievements so bad now.
Well, what about in this case though? Like, because if there's no bonus thing at the end, right? No bonus extra scene or extra story, and you're not getting an achievement for it. As a consumer, as a player, why would you play it on a harder difficulty if they're going to offer you an easier one?
Well, and
Because the easier one isn't fun to play because you just raffle stomp it.
yeah, but a lot of people are fine with raffle stomping it to see the story, aren't they?
What was the last game you played with a difficulty setting?
With a difficulty setting?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm gonna have to think about this. Oh.
Let's all just.
Well, I guess Smash Brothers. I mean, if you play against the AI and stuff.
Okay.
Okay, well, what did you set the AI to? Did you already set it to max?
10
no,
stock
'cause
999.
No, because it was really hard.
Oh.
Oh, so you didn't want the challenge?
Okay, well, I wanted to have
But you
a
didn't put 'em
challenge
on one either.
appropriate to my level.
Okay.
So I play on like very hard, or I'm playing on hard, but like very hard, and with the one stock, I can't do that because I'm not that good.
All
And
right, let me ask you this.
computer cheats.
Because you played the crap out of Undertale, right?
Oh yeah.
How many playthroughs did you do? Because depending on how you play through is a lot more difficult, right?
You're
I
a
would
bastard.
say. I mean, the hardest playthrough is the genocide
Oh,
run. but-
wait! Why am I a bastard, Mr. Fat?
Fuck you. All right, so yeah, I've played through it 3 or 4-ish times, kind of.
All right, let's start with your first playthrough then.
All right, so first playthrough, I just go through it, kill everything. Second playthrough, I
Was that a genocide run then?
No, you can't genocide the first
Right.
run.
Oh, okay.
Just first playthrough is just playing.
It has to be a neutral end.
Right. The second playthrough was what's it
Pacifist.
called? Pacifist. Yep. And that was I don't know. I don't want to say it was even easier.
It's a little harder, I think.
It's a little harder, but because I knew how to play the game at that
It
point,
felt easier 'cause you could play it
easier.
already, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then the last one I actually didn't finish was Genocide, and
Why didn't you finish it?
well, it was like a lot of grinding, which wasn't hard. But then you have 2 additional bosses, which are really, really hard. I beat the first really, really hard boss, and then I played the second boss, and it was super difficult for about 2 hours.
Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. Okay, so you beat
I beat Undyne.
Undyne.
Yeah.
And then you got stuck on the last boss. Yeah,
Yeah.
that last boss, unbelievably difficult.
And you never went back and finished it.
But here's
want
the
to,
problem
actually,
with the
though.
genocide run in that game is like it's actively meant to not be fun. Like,
Yeah, although it's so fun.
Not only do you have, it is not.
No, oh my
What?
god. Like, all the things that change because now you are the antagonist. You are the bad
Yeah, you
guy.
are the bad guy in it.
And just like the whole story changes. So it's...
It like that's interesting, but like the actual gameplay, they make it so you have to farm every zone until there's no more enemies.
For like
and
an hour
as
or
you
two.
farm, enemies like spawns become less common because the enemies are now hiding from you because they're afraid of you.
yeah.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
It's very clever, but it's obscenely boring.
Yes. So... it's a different kind of hard. And to be fair, those are like secret bosses level. Like if you're in Final Fantasy VII, it'd be like fighting Emerald
weapon.
or Ruby weapon.
Okay, which if you want a challenge, that's what you do because they're the hardest bosses in the game.
Right.
Right, but so I think here's the thing though is like back in the day we had cheat codes and they made the game easier to play.
Right.
But they also would teach you a lot about the game while you did it. So when you went back and say, okay, now I'm going to try it without cheat codes. You remember like okay, I'll go ahead.
don't know
I'll go ahead and
anybody-
date myself here. I did this with Aladdin on the Sega Genesis when I was a kid. I beat it with cheat codes a bunch of times. But once I knew the levels, I was like, wait, maybe I could do this without cheat codes now. And it was a grinding and learning experience to be able to, then I had to get good at dodging and all that stuff. but I learned the
But
game and I got really good at it.
It wasn't a total fucking mystery, right?
Exactly.
Like
So what-
having the level be a total mystery, I think, is half of the frustration right there.
So what cheat code did you use? Like, did you use like infinite lives?
Infinite lives, yeah.
Okay, so you can
I don't have to
basically play
reset
through-
back to the beginning every time.
Okay, then that's fine. That's fine. If you were like playing through the game with like infinite
Invulnerability,
life,
yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine then.
Yeah, no, I play with infinite lives, but it was a good way to learn. But here we have, nowadays, we have the game as it is, and then if you want to go to higher difficulties, you might get a glory achievement. Or people do, like, they nuzlocke Pokemon. They find ways to
okay,
make it harder for
hang
themselves,
on.
and I don't think that's the right way to go about it.
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, like, I think you can see the example of a game series making concessions and making their game easier over time. And the perfect example of this is Pokemon.
Oh,
The
God, you're right.
perfect example of this. You know, and I only realized this because I just went back and I went through
And I also like to
all
classify-
the way back to Soul Silver, and because the hardest game for me, all right, in my entire run of all of the Pokemon games, the hardest game for me was Platinum.
I'd like to clarify really quick that this, because you're right, Pokemon is the best example of this in a criminal way. Like Pokemon's gotten
Right.
easier to its disadvantage.
Right.
Continue.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that, you know, there's a different type of difficulty that's now being presented in games, which I think is kind of equally frustrating. You know what I mean? Like if you look at Sun and Moon and you look at the progression of Pokemon games from Platinum to Sun and Moon, there's a couple of things that the game starts doing. There's little concessions that it makes. Oh, evolution items are, you know, limited to your playthrough. In later versions, you can buy them from stores. You know, like there's
Or
just
win them from mini games.
right, like there's just little concessions that end up happening over time that make the game easier in some aspects, and then they reserve. It's like they reserve the hard part for like the post game, right? I remember. One of the hardest Elite Fours that I went through was on Platinum, because at the end you got what's her name, Cassandra or whatever with
The dragon lady.
Yeah, the dragon.
Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia. Thank you. You've got Cynthia there at the end with that Garchomp that will just face rape you, and if you don't have enough items to be able to kind of like heal your team back up before you get there, or you're burning them in earlier fights, then that is a really, really, really tough fight. But the Elite Four in Sun and Moon was probably the easiest time I had with any of the Elite Four from any of the games that I played. But then the battle tree is where all of the bullshitty, like, you know, like all of those troll tactics are used, sort of like Whitney's Miltank. Whitney's Miltank, do you remember how that was like the third fucking gym? That was like the second or third fucking gym.
That Miltank.
That Miltank was a
Rollout.
beast.
Ruby and
Rollout. Oh, fuck Rollout.
Ruby and Sapphire, the what's the big dumb looking ape one?
Oh,
Slacking?
Yeah, slacking. Oh, fighting him in your dad's gym. God, that guy was annoying as shit. And you're right. If you want to go all the way back to red and blue, okay? Unless you chose Squirtle, how much of a headache Brock's gym was?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you just Bulbasaur, it was easy too.
Yeah.
Who chooses
even
Bulbasaur?
No one.
Charmander was easy. You just had to get a few more levels, but Ember can take you through it because Geodude and Onix have shit special defense.
Okay, so then what you're saying is just overgrind.
Well, I mean, you had options, and you could also get Nidoran.
Well, I mean, you
and then
always
double kick.
You always
Or
have
Mankey.
options.
Yeah, that's sort of, but the thing is that like that's in terms of you know, NPCs along the way that'll randomly heal your Pokemon,
Which become more and more plentiful as we go up in generations.
right? Like you look at one of those long routes. You look at one of those long routes in a Pokemon game, and you know, like early generations, like fuck man, that's going to be a haul.
Not even
versus
that.
the later generations where it's like there's going to either be someone who can restore your Pokemon, or a house that you can rest in, or something along the way.
I'll do you even better. The heartbreak when you'd finally make it through one of those long passes. Like, I'm finally here. I can see the Poke Center, and then your fucking rival shows up and's like, nah,
yeah.
start over. And nowadays,
not just that. When your rival didn't heal your fucking Pokemon.
that's exactly what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Nowadays, your rival shows up, and you're like, oh my god, I only have one Pokemon left, and he's half dead. And your rival's
Yeah.
like, don't worry, we want this to be a fair fight.
No way. Blue didn't give a shit. He's like, oh, finally, I've been waiting for you to whittle down to one Pokemon.
Right? He's been following you that whole time, and when he sees you're down to one more, he pops out. I'm here, bitches.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
kicks your Charmander in the face.
I remember working my way through the Mewtwo cave, and I was on my way to the end. I got rocked by some random encounter Pokemon, and I was like, I don't have an escape rope to get out of here, and I'm one room away from Mewtwo, but I don't even know if I can beat him if I get to him.
Did you have a Master Ball?
I did have a Master Ball.
Oh, see, if you could have got to him with the Master Ball, you would have been fine.
No, but at that time, like, there was things like that were just punishing and unforgiving. If you made a mistake,
Oh, yeah.
deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Pokemon, definitely, I think, one of the biggest offenders in your games are getting easier as you go on, and it's definitely, I think, hurting the game because, like Callie pointed out, to make Pokemon fun, people have to come up with these new challenges, like the Wonder Trade Challenge in X and Y or the Nuzlocke Challenge.
Yeah.
And while these are, yes, really fun to watch and really fun to do, I think it kind of speaks to the way the game's being developed when this is what people do to have fun in the game.
But I mean, like, look at something like Dark Souls that presents an inherent challenge, and then, people kind of get acclimated to that. But look at how well it's done commercially.
Yeah.
I think that says that there is a willingness to be challenged.
There is.
And that, a lot of times the way that games, give you the option to be challenged is really, really bad. Like, the idea of Dark Souls having an easy mode, I think, ruins the idea of Dark Souls because it's like it's one of those it's one of those things that you hold up as a challenge. Like you hold up as a flag. I was able to get through Dark Souls. What the fuck have you done?
Mugen Raccoon pointed out something in the chat that's very interesting to me, and that maybe games aren't getting much easier, but a game over is gone as a concept. Like, think about like difficult parts of a game. You lost, you got a game over, you went back to the beginning of the game, you had to grind all the way back to that point just for another shot at handling that mechanic. Whereas today, you die, you might go back to the last checkpoint, but you're gonna be there again in a minute and you get another shot at it. You can grind those difficult parts much quicker and learn the mechanics much faster rather than having to dedicate another like 5 hours to going back and doing it again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that that's a good point.
Can you imagine Dark Souls if you had to go back to the beginning every third time you you died?
Yeah, that would be brutal.
That would be the worst. No one would have beaten Dark Souls.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
except-
people would still be trying to.
Except in Undertale, going back to that game, those two end bosses, they have a save point right there, and I couldn't beat the second one.
To be fair, yeah, those fights are still ridiculously hard, even with that save point there. But if you had to go back to the beginning
Oh, that'd be impossible.
every 3 times, no one would have
See,
beaten the
here's-
last fight in the Genocide run.
See, I think that while there may be some merit to that, I think that given the way that games have evolved and with the narrative and stuff, you can't just be like, all right, well, you know what? You're playing this RPG, and if you die, you have 5 lives or whatever, so now you have to start all over again.
You're
think
right.
For
Games
certain
are
it's kinda
80-hour
out of the question.
experiences now.
Right, exactly. So I think where you have to put your challenge is in the actual like gameplay, not just getting to bosses. I mean, this one meme that I see every so often pisses the hell out of me when they talk about like how it's like, oh, when you lose to a boss 3 times and you get all like upset about it. And it's like, really? 3 times? You're gonna get upset because you lost to a boss 3 times? What did you spend on that? 15 minutes?
Oh,
like,
honey.
I think back to Kingdom Hearts 1, when I played it the second time, I'm like, you know what? I want to beat Sephiroth the second he becomes available. And it took me all weekend to do it. We're talking 14-hour play days just throwing myself at this fight over and over and over again. Each attempt is like 30 to 45 minutes.
Right.
That's ridiculous. That's what games need now. And whether that's inherently designed into them like Dark Souls, whether you get, the difficulty options at the beginning of the game, or it's a secret boss that no matter what difficulty you're on, he's still a bastard. That type of stuff, I think, does need to exist in games.
Well, but the other part of it, and Callie, to speak to the second half of your discussion topic here, is that I feel like those, the features or things that were relegated to cheats.
Yeah.
Back in, back in our day of gaming, that they have been stripped out of the games and now nickeled and dimed as DLC. I see that a lot too.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I see that a lot too. Unless you get a PC copy of the game where you can load a dev console on there or whatever. Like the idea of cheats serving the same function that they used to, or even unlockables serving the same function that they used to. I mean, like, it's all. Remember, like, when you would get a game and you would have just no concept of what the unlockable structure was, and it was just
one of the first thing you looked for. What can I unlock? How do I get it?
Yeah, like trying to like sort of like going through 007 the first time and unlocking stuff as you go, and you find the different secrets and different shit like that. Like, it was all kind of this experience and surprise.
That is such a great example. I forgot about that. Like, you go through and beat it once, then you go back and you look, how fast do I have to beat it to get this?
Time limits.
Is that worth getting? Oh, that was such a great example.
Okay, right. So the only ways that you could do that is actually through playing the game and meeting the challenges, or through like some kind of cheating device.
Good.
But now you could probably buy that for 99 cents. You know what I mean? Like, you can get around it for 99 cents. Or it's just like that. Unlock tree is just kind of like spread out before you very, very like, it's almost like a foregone conclusion, like
it's
when
currency
you think
now. That's what it is. As you play, you get gold, you get currency.
Yeah.
And if you play enough, you can just click, I unlocked that, or go ahead and buy our booster packs. Buy your
Beat
golden
the depot
unlock.
on the hardest difficulty in less than 2 minutes to unlock Golden Gun mode.
And that's pretty much literally what like For Honor did, that I thought was the most disappointing part of For Honor.
It really was.
It was like why I ended up checking out of that game so quickly is because like I
sold it to my roommate.
Like, I don't need to grind currency, man. Like, I've got enough places where I have to grind currency and then use on the thing, and it's like, that shit's boring.
Had that game been like, look, get through each level on the hardest difficulty without the enemy landing a hit on you, you'd have taken that challenge.
I don't know that I would.
I don't know that you would have beat that challenge, but you might have attempted it.
It depends. Like, the unlocks, like what you end up unlocking, that has to be the carrot on the stick. Like, that has to outweigh, it has to justify the challenge. And for some reason in older games, like GoldenEye, trying to get the golden gun, that there was like that challenge sort of justified the reward in a weird way.
Golden gun.
But why is that though? Like, why specific?
One shot kill.
Dude, I'll do you one better. Mortal Kombat 3 Trilogy. If you beat the tournament mode for it, when you got to the very end, you unlocked a little video sequence, and that's all it was. And so most of them were dumb or didn't matter, but some of them you could get, like, it would show you all of the friendships in the game or all the fatalities in the game, and you had to go through like 40 minutes of playing through the tournament mode just to have your random shot at getting one of these videos you were hoping to see.
Well, nowadays you can just look it up on YouTube.
Has YouTube just killed off so much of this?
God damn it, YouTube!
I don't know, man.
Story mode now.
But what is it that is making us so cynical about the way that games are presenting their reward structures these days?
That's what it comes down to. It's reward structure. It always comes back to reward structure with us.
I know.
Because
not just with us, with gamers.
Well, you're right though. Nowadays, the only type of reward, like in general, that you see is that achievement. But there's not really anything in an achievement.
Let's drill down to that even deeper. Like, what about a reward makes it a reward that you want to get? Like, you want to be able to take that online, you want to be able to rub it in the face of everyone that you're playing with, and you want everyone who's playing against you to go, oh fuck, look at that guy, right? Like, that seems there's much more of that economy these days, as opposed to what used to be the reward structure, which was additional game modes or more challenge types or
more equipment.
Yeah, now I can bring my cart over to my friend's house and we can play using all of the unlocks. Like, think about like fighting game character unlocks and why that is a big deal. Okay, so when you start thinking about the psychological aspects of what makes a good reward, what constitutes a good reward, then once you figure out what makes that good reward, hiding it or putting it in a way, or putting it like walling it behind a challenge of some sort, I think is something that's very necessary. Like, and I don't feel like that happens that much anymore.
It doesn't.
Right? Like, if a game design, if someone models a really cool sword in the game, it's like they want it to get out there as fast and as quickly as possible. Now, if you have that badass sword and 9 other people that you're playing against also have that badass sword, that makes you feel like that sword isn't that badass anymore. Even if you like the design, even if it makes it less unique, right? Like, and I think that is a big psychological factor when you're talking about what motivates people into undertaking these kinds of challenges, to be able to get that reward and have that reward stay meaningful.
You want to talk about big psychological effects from, big achievements that do nothing? How about getting all, 600, 900 Kokoro seeds in Breath of the Wild, and all you get is a piece of golden poop?
Is that true?
Really?
Yes, that's true. Your reward is, it's a meaningless item that does nothing, and when you look at it on the screen, it's like poop, and it's golden.
Yeah.
You get golden shit.
You only need to collect like 490 to like get all the in-game upgrades.
That feels like a Nintendo commentary almost, more than anything else.
It does,
Which
actually.
is
That's kind of funny.
Which is honestly
I
the
love
only
it.
reason that I let it go, is because it's definitely a commentary.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, nowadays, literally the only reason to do harder content is for the feeling all your own. The fact that, hey, I did it, right? That's it. Which it works sometimes. It works sometimes. I want to play through.
Look, achievement hunters are things like
They are.
People do the achievement hunting thing, but why? Like, who do they end up showing those gamer points off to? Or like, I don't
And more
understand.
importantly, who cares?
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's also the reason like why hard mods exist for games like Final Fantasy VII or Tactics. Like, people want to like look into the depth of the gameplay, and in the normal game, it's just too easy to do that. So they have to create a harder version of the game so they can actually delve deeper into the combat system.
and it might not even be something that
And it's not they want to like show other people like, look at this game I made so I could beat it harder and stuff. It's just so they can feel better about playing the game and like really get intimate with the game, because you can't do that with the game as is.
Yeah, but with devs locking down things, or even being hostile to things like modding and cheating and modifying game code, which I guess would
Nintendo.
technically be cheating. Whatever. Like that, the ability to do things like that has become more and more restricted, and you can only tune the game as finely as Nintendo's preset settings will allow you to tune it.
Okay, but even aside from the tuning, people still go so far as to do things like original equipment only run, no item run, no leveling run, no materia run.
Final Fantasy VII, no outside healing through forced cutscenes.
But would stuff like that exist if not for services like Twitch, where you can show it off and do it?
I mean, yeah, that's part of it, is that, now there's a platform to be able to share and show that kind
Definitely.
of stuff off.
I beat all the Mass Effects on Insanity, but I always did it like on normal first, and now I
Right.
find myself, since I'm streaming it, wanting to do it on Insanity first. And honestly, before beating the Mass Effects on Insanity, I never really cared about doing it difficulty. The reason that I did Horizon on hard mode was I'm like, you know what, beating Mass Effect on the Insanity difficulty actually kind of gave me more of an appreciation for being able to beat a game, like getting a challenge out of it rather than
Right.
just doing it. So I don't know. It's a weird sort of mixed bag, but I think the thing that we hit on that kind of go ahead, Driss.
I was gonna say it's kind of like how when you first played Tomb Raider, you did it completely without any walkthroughs, just to show the world that you could beat it without any assisted things. And
That is half the story. Okay. Okay. The story is that Kookie and I made a bet that I couldn't 100% it in a time frame, and I did.
oh,
And there was stuff at stake, so I cheated. and
See,
used the
okay.
walkthrough.
So Ryoko says, I don't know, I never cared about showing off or clearing single-player games. Mainly, I play games because I think they're fun to spend time with, as long as I'm enjoying my time with the game, no matter the difficulty. And the thing is, though, is that, I mean, okay, that's valid.
Yeah, that's
valid.
fair.
That's valid. But my question to you is, how many old 007 carts could you load up and plug into an N64 today that have damn near 100% completion on it so that they could, you know what I mean? Like the motivation for normal fucking players to do stuff like that has, I think, just been kind of driven out of it.
And like they even stepped it up when they did Perfect Dark. Some of the achievements that you could get, or achievements, but rewards you could get out of that were ridiculously hard to come by.
Plus, something else to keep in mind too is, okay, yes, Ryoko, that's obviously one way to play, and one feeling of fun and accomplishment to get from is playing with your friends. But there's a difference between, like, here's your objective, you jump down, boom, 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 all right, got it, moving on to the next one, and then slamming your face against it for like 2 hours, and then when you finally get it, like that just adrenaline and that, yeah, fuck you, I dominated you, you piece of shit.
Capra Demon.
Yeah.
Capra
I had
Demon.
a moment like that on Horizon.
Capernickel.
Dude, that moment on stream, clearing the Capra Demon in Dark Souls, there wasn't even words for a good 2 minutes. It was just like 2 minutes. It was just like hugging myself with happiness.
Okay, that's you
didn't go like this, like, oh
No.
I did.
No.
I was so happy.
that's definitely weird.
No.
No, it was great.
But
Shadow of the Colossus,
but the thing again though is that the rate of completion, the rate of engagement for people on these sorts of things has definitely fallen off. I mean, maybe it's because there's so many different games out there. Maybe it's because the choice is so vast. And I mean, let's be honest, like with more games that come out each and every single day or each and every single week, there are good ones that come out. You know what I mean? Like there's good shit that comes out in there. And so the pool of good games that you could potentially spend your time with grows. And it's always growing. So is
Like my dick.
it that, you know, that like our attentions are pulled in so many different directions, that there's so much choice and so many options, that people find the one thing that they enjoy and they just end up sticking with it? Like, what is it about, you know, older games that saw such a longer term engagement than newer games?
God, I'd really like to say it's not being older, but as I think about it, we were talking about...
that's gotta be part of it.
007, right? And that the one I mentioned where you had to clear the depot on the hardest difficulty in under a certain amount of time. I remember getting off school one weekend on a Friday and saying, this weekend, that is the goal.
Right.
I will clear this.
Yeah.
And it took me until Sunday to do it. And yeah, there's no way in hell I would ever be able to do that today. Like, ever.
I mean, and I'm not just saying because we're busy or adults or have time or, you know, don't have time to do that, but it's just like, I don't think that I would have the inclination to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
would at least have the inclination. If they brought out another game that, you know, I enjoyed playing that had unlocks like that, I would try and go for them, right? I think the thing that I hate the most, because I did it on stream when I was playing the trial for Mass Effect, and like even now thinking about it, I just feel like such a scrubbing douchebag for it, right?
Yeah, you are.
I think that when it comes to having difficulties in games, that's fine, because then you get to let people choose if they just want to play the story mode, they just want to get through it, if they actually want to challenge. I'm cool with that. What I think one of the biggest crimes though is giving people the option mid-game at any point to change their difficulty. I think if you want to change the difficulty of the game, you should start over.
Start a new file.
Yeah, because I was playing on Sanity, and there was this ambush chain that I just couldn't get back. And some people in the chat were like, just lower the difficulty. We want to see you play. Just lower it. And, you know, part of me was like, no, I'm not going to lower it. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to beat this. And after like 5 or 6 deaths, I'm just like, fuck, I'm going to do it. And, like, I can't do it with them not seeing. I should have faked a DC and switched the difficulty
my God,
and then
you're
came
such a
back.
bad person.
But I didn't. I changed the difficulty. And even now,
But
like, I still hate myself for that.
But the thing is though that, like, yeah, you if that option exists and you're running up against a wall, man, I mean, like, the decision to restart a game at an easier difficulty or beat that wall or really challenge yourself to beat that wall, at that point when you've plugged, you know, 15, 16 hours into a game or even more than
the need to
that,
beat it becomes even greater.
yeah, you'll find yourself pushing past those challenges. I mean, again, Seymour on Mount Gagazet.
He's so
Fuck
easy.
that guy. Well, when you know how to cheese him, sure.
I didn't even die the first time I went through him.
You're a monster.
Okay, but that
get
you
good.
clearly had a different experience with that than we did. But the thing is that is a common choke point for a lot of players. Now, what is your option there? Because Final Fantasy X does, if you are at that fight and you're engaged in that fight and you find out that you're not going to win, you've got to go back to grinding. And the mobs that they give you to grind
Are not fun.
they're not fun,
And that's
and
not
they
a-
don't give good XP. You
Dude.
know where you can get better XP, but you can't go
And-
there anymore.
and-
Ha ha, fuck you.
The other big thing too is that is a point in the game when you are so plugged into the story, like you're on your way to Zanarkand. It's just beyond Gagazet. You're not giving up here.
Yeah.
You're not going to step away from the game for a few days.
I had to stop and grind there
Yeah.
for like 7
Exactly.
hours. And for 7 hours, and then I went and fought him, forgetting to save first. And I lost.
How do you
And I
forget to
started
save?
over.
Oh, you dumb
I know,
son
it was
of a
right there.
bitch.
It was
right
right there.
there.
Wait,
I
so
forgot.
so all
I
of
didn't
your,
lose
all
all
of your-
7 hours. I lost like 3 hours,
Oh,
though.
see, I lost 7 hours worth of grinding, not because I forgot to save, but because I got into a fight with the bombs up there that you self-destruct.
Yeah, you did.
just at the save point, and they wiped my team.
Now, here's the thing, okay? I ended up plugging about 10 more hours into that game because of that fight than I would have. Did it make some people quit?
Probably.
Maybe there are some people who never saw after Seymour, but most everyone who played that game played it to completion. They all know what happens at the end of the game. There are very few people I've ever talked to that were like, yeah, I stopped at the Seymour fight. You bring up the Seymour fight, they go, oh, that was a pain in the dick, but very few people actually stopped there. And I think that games are kind of afraid to challenge their audience in the same ways that they used to, because let's face it, Final Fantasy X had 10 iterations of that game under its belt, and there was no way coming off the run of Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 that 10 wasn't just going to sell oodles and oodles and oodles of units. And so I think that Square Enix was a lot more comfortable with making that ask of their audience, because they're like, you're this late in the game, you're going to want to see what happens next. You're not going to put this down. We're daring you to put this down.
You know
we're
what?
saying if you put this down right now, you are going to miss out on the best parts of this game. And if that's your choice, fine. That's your fucking choice. But you know what? You've got to do this. This is a hurdle that you have to jump. And I admire decisions like that. I admire bold strategies like that, because it did force me to get to the other side of it. It made me a better FF10 player, and I was much, much more prepared for the next phases of that game, which do ramp the difficulty up quite a bit.
All right, let's chew on this for a second, because when I think back to you know how much I played video games with my sister when we were younger, I remember sitting and playing Mario
Whoa,
Brothers
whoa.
3 or
Girls don't play video games.
or Sonic 2 and just spending hours upon hours of playing the same stuff over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't do that nowadays. Like I've been given like Shovel Knight, which is a great game, or Shantae, which is a great game, and I plug like a few hours into it, I'm like, I'm gonna go do other stuff. And so I think the reason that the difficulty of games has fallen is because I think, Callie, you brought this up early in the show. There's just or Nate, you did too. There's so many options out there that you have to compete with, that if someone gets frustrated with your game and sets it down and goes to the game, there's a good chance they're never
going to come back. Yeah.
And you brought up another great point with FF10. Everybody wanted to beat that, especially at that point in the game with Seymour. You could put a difficult boss there and know that nobody's going to give up on that and go play a different game, because this is Final Fantasy X.
That's right.
And if you're not going to beat it, someone's going to spoil it for you, and you don't want that. And I think that's where the difficulty of today's games have gone. Unless you know someone's going to stick with your game, you have to give them an easy way out, or they might drop it and go pick up something else.
That's a really great observation. Yeah, I think that's right. That game developers sort of end up pulling those punches, because you're right. What they're afraid of is not, an audience is going to think that this this moment is stupid, or that this is a lot of grinding to do, or like this isn't fun anymore. But yeah, that so many different things are vying for their attention that when you have a sort of an attention-based economy, that you do run the risk of someone taking and putting your game down and saying, you know what, I'm good on this, and walking away.
Now, Chris, or Fat, you look kind of skeptical over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like pre-Final Fantasy, we'll say 4, Final Fantasy 4. Like
I was gonna say, so Final Fantasy 1?
yeah. Okay, so Nintendo games, I can probably count the number of games I've actually beaten on Nintendo on one hand. Barely any. But ever since Final Fantasy 4, I basically beat every single Final Fantasy game. So I'm thinking that Final Fantasy games are easier than like the games on Nintendo, because I've beaten every single Final Fantasy game, but I haven't beaten every single Nintendo game.
Were they easier, or did they just compel you to actually play them more?
Hang on,
they're easier.
Hang on. Well, no. First of all, the Final Fantasy series was one of the only games outside of The Legend of Zelda that had an active save system on the NES.
That plays a pretty big part.
It does. And I don't think you actually even realize that until you figure out, like, oh my God, 2/3 of these games had password systems to be able to continue your game.
Right?
Like that's why I would think that's why
that's
you have
a very good observation.
Yeah, the limited number of lives that you have, the game over state, all of those things. You did not have a game. I mean, you do have a game over state in Final Fantasy, but not a true game over state that forces you like if the game over state also wiped your save data. You know what I mean? Like that's
that
what
has some teeth to it.
Yeah, but that's what you're talking about when you're talking about a game that doesn't have any kind of save data system. That when you run out of those lives, you're right back there at the start, and there's no way to get back to where you were. Final Fantasy is it's a little bit of even a different animal among the NES games.
Okay, but Mega Man, like that has a password system, and I can't beat a lot of those end levels.
Look,
It's because you're bad.
And there's also,
Have you beat any of them?
Mega
I
Man
don't
also
play
being
Mega
a
Man.
Exactly.
platformer is different than an RPG.
that is also different, but I mean, Mega Man was also very specifically tuned for difficulty as the series went on.
Yeah.
After Mega Man 3, like, it was known as a difficult game, much like in the way that, like, Ninja Gaiden was known as a difficult game, and it really ended up, leaning into that heavily as a series, and I'm going to be honest, I think that Ninja Gaiden in a lot of ways, especially the Xbox Ninja Gaiden, that era of Ninja Gaiden really set the stage and paved the way for games like Dark Souls and all of the Souls iterations that have come out of it.
Really quick, just to go back to that idea that that developers lower the difficulty of their games because they want to keep people engaged. One could argue that, look, if they've already bought the game, then what do they care? But Wambly Pond in the chat here points out that when you check out
a
of
good
a game,
name. I like that name.
Wambly Pond.
Wambly Pond. When you check out of a game, you don't buy the sequel.
That's true, too.
That's
So you
very
do
true.
still want to keep people invested in your game and make sure they beat the game if you want to keep sucking money out of it.
Hang on. Just I'm quick. I just kind of want to like run this around the room because it's an interesting anecdote that if you check out of a game, you're definitely not going to buy the sequel. But I don't know that that's always 100% true. Are there games that you guys have bought that you checked out of, but then ended up coming back for the sequel and then got back into as a result? Dark Souls for me. Dark Souls. I've owned a copy of Dark Souls on PlayStation 3 for about 5 or 6 years. I mean, like I've had it sitting around
but
for a long time,
The
and it
story
took.
narrative for Dark Souls isn't like a cut and dry one after the other kind of thing.
Right.
I think that plays a role. Like I wouldn't count the Final Fantasies.
No. See, but my OCD about playing games in numbered order. But Dark Souls was one that I didn't have that same OCD for because I didn't give a shit. I had written.
This also feels like a very specific case to you.
This is anecdotal, but I'm trying to see if it resonates out there with anyone. Okay, so I had to be gifted Dark Souls 3 from Kooky to be able to revisit that game genre, that style of game, and then that made me go back and reappreciate what was there.
Closest that I have to this, because I'm not going to count the Final Fantasy series because they're not sequels to each other. So the closest thing that I got to this is I actually didn't play Mass Effect 1 when it came out. When Mass Effect 2 was coming out, there had been trailers, there's all kinds of stuff going on. I'm like, man, that game looks really, really cool. But it's the second one. I should play the first one. And remember our friend Frank?
Yeah,
Everybody remembers Frank. Yeah. Worked at GameStop.
Frank was my old roommate.
That's right, he was. Worked at GameStop. He had a Mass Effect 1 Collector's Edition on hold that he was going to buy at the end of the week.
Right, yeah.
And when he heard that I was looking to get into it, he's like, oh, why don't you come in and buy it? And so then I played the first one, then the second one. That's the closest that I have to any kind of thing like that.
I mean, like, there's definitely... See, I think, like... and I can't remember what it was that I played out of order that made me feel like, man, I really should have played this in order. That started that whole OCD
Actually,
thing.
Someone in the chat reminded me.
But there was something. There was a game, and I don't know what game it was.
I actually feel like I'm the complete opposite because I tried The Witcher 1, didn't really like it. Got like a couple hours into it, put it down. I got gifted, I think, The Witcher 2, and I'm like, forget The Witcher 1. Tried to play Witcher 2. Again, few hours into it, didn't really resonate with me. And even though, The Witcher 3 got Game of the Year, so it's a pretty critically acclaimed game.
Still makes you kind of go,
I feel like, you know what? I couldn't get into the first and second one. So even if I would have fun with The Witcher 3, as a trilogy, I need to have played the first and the second one, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So buy Witcher 3. Ain't happening.
I cannot think of a game that...
I even have 1 and 2 on Steam.
I can't think of a game that I haven't beaten.
He's like, I can't think of a game that I beat and then
End
wanted
of
to
thought?
play the sequel.
End of thought?
Basically, I'm trying to think of a game that I haven't beaten, but then I went to the sequel, and I can't think of anything.
Like, the only things for that would be real old games. Like, I didn't like Mario Brothers, but once I played Super Mario Brothers 3, then I was all up for trying the other ones and doing the other ones.
See, but that's sort of along the same lines of what I'm talking about. I don't think that if you check out of a game series, you're probably going to check out of the next one, but maybe you might go back in, for the third.
Yeah, the third one comes out, you're like, well, it got 3 games. Maybe it's worth looking at again.
Yeah, I'm basically just saying that I'm not sure that that's true on a 1-to-1 ratio.
Okay, so I played Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo. Never beat it.
Yeah.
Played Legend of Zelda on the Super Nintendo, Link to the Past. Beat that when I was 20 or something. Beat Ocarina of Time. And then I haven't played any game since Breath of the Wild.
Oh.
And I haven't beat that.
How are you doing in Breath of the Wild? When was the last time you played that?
A long time ago, like last week. It's really boring.
You burnt out on it, really?
Yeah, it's not a fun game. I hate open world games so much.
When I was watching, because he mentioned in chat, he's like, oh, I ended up buying it for the Wii U. So I'm like, I want to go home and watch him play it. And I kind of wanted to play it myself, right? But I'm like, it's his game. I can't be like, let me play it. So I'm watching him play it for an hour.
You can play it if you want.
And the entire time that he's playing it, all I can think is, man, I really want to go play Horizon.
It's
Diablo. I hated Diablo 1 when I first sat down and played it.
I could see that,
and then loved the shit out of Diablo 2.
Diablo 2 was so good.
Put so many hours of my life into Diablo 2.
Yeah.
And after Diablo 2, I went back, played through Diablo 1 again, had a really good appreciation for it. I'm like, all right, I see what they were going for now.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a necessary part of that whole thing. Like, it's sort of like when you get into a band, and then like you find a record that you really like of theirs, and then you go check out their early stuff, and it's not anything like their current stuff, but like if you like the band enough, you can have enough of an appreciation for where they started and be like, oh, I see what they were going for.
System of a Down, Toxicity, back to System of a Down. You're like, wow, they were very different in their intro album.
Yeah.
Steal This Album.
Yeah, it was a very different record. Okay, so someone else